Hey everyone, this is HK and welcome to another For Honor video. In this video, I would like to talk a little bit about the tier list and the state of the game. Now I know that the patch is coming pretty soon, so I thought it'd be fun to make this video now so that we can compare post-patch how the patch affects the state of the game and if it successfully brings up some of the lower tier characters and rebalances the game. Now going through the list real quick, we have in the S tier Warden, PeaceKeeper, Orochi. In the A tier, Warlord, Shugoki, and Nobushi. In the B tier, Kensei, Valkyrie, Lawbringer, and lastly in the C tier, Raider, Conqueror, Berserker. I'm going to go through each of these characters, talking about their pros and cons. So if you want to skip to a specific character, then you can click on the annotations, just click on the tier list, the character icons, or in the description below, I will have the timestamps. So just real quick, making this tier list, I broke it down into 3 sections. Here's a chart that I used. I broke it down into neutral game, defense game, and offense game. A character could earn up to 10 points per section, and then up to 5 points for ring out ability. I thought that kind of deserved its own section because that's like this game is essentially a fighting game, but that's like a thing that's specific to this game. So breaking it down, I looked at each of their options. So in the neutral game, I looked at how well they can feint, how fast their stray hits are, and how well from the neutral game they can easily convert into their offense game. Because some people, they get like a light attack in neutral and they get frame advantage, but not like they can get that much off of it if their vortex doesn't start off of the straight hit in neutral. For example, Warden has a great neutral and offense game. If he feints left, he can go either top light or zone attack, which are both extremely fast and hard to block. And landing a top light, he gets to go into his vortex because he can go into his unblockable from that. So, he got tons of points there. Versus someone who doesn't get as much off of feint. For example, on Conqueror, if you feint and get a light attack in, you can't even go into your unblockable. The unblockable requires you to land a heavy. And in the defense game, I looked heavily on how well they can turn a situation around. If the opponent is pressuring them really hard, how well they can do a reversal. For example, Warlord has a great defense game. He can't really get feinted as long as the Warlord decides to play safe. He can parry using light attacks, so essentially you can't really feint that well against the Warlord. He'll just parry you with a light attack, and then also off any like shield hit, he can definitely do a reversal. He can go into his unblockable. And then for defense game, I also talked a little bit about how well their parry punish options are. For example, Warden has a great parry punish. He has his zone attack off far range parries, off close range parries. He has his guard break that leads into his vortex. No one else really has a punish game like that strong off of parry compared to him. But anyways, the chart is there if you want to take a look at it. And now let's go into each of the characters. I'll go specifically into their pros and cons and why they received the score they did. Hey guys, so starting off we have the Warden. For his pros, he has very good neutral game. His normals are very fast, great range, amazing feints. His defense game is strong. His reversals, he has that top light that gives him the unblockable option if unsuccessful parry. His parry punish is amazing. He can get something, at least something off of every parry. Some characters don't get anything off of like very far range parries, like the Orochi. If you parry a long range attack from like Nobushi, you actually don't get anything off of it. But like Warden, even though he's a kind of closer range character, he gets something off of it. And then the only place where I kind of docked points a little bit is that his dodge isn't the best compared to like Orochi or PeaceKeeper, who got a perfect 5 on dodge. So going to his offense game, I think his guaranteed damage and vortex and reversal is just amazing. He has the unblockable that can cancel into guard break without doing any sort of feint or cancel. At first I thought it was a bug when someone did it. I thought his is the only unblockable that can go into guard break directly, and that was kind of ridiculous. And an offense game, I valued very heavily guaranteed damage, and for him, he has double side light attack, and that's just only other character who has like double attacks would be PeaceKeeper and Orochi, who I both put into S tiers. And then his ring ability is pretty average, but yeah, basically pros, he has everything. He has at least a little bit of everything, and most of it is above average. The only con he has is his dodging. But anyways, okay, next character. Moving on, we have the Peacekeeper, and I think this character is amazing. She's probably the second best character in the game. I can't believe they're gonna bring back her old guard break. I know that it does like no damage right now, but I think hopefully it does maybe half of what it did in beta. It was way too strong, and not to mention her mix-up game is pretty amazing. Her zone attack is very strong, even though it doesn't have great range, meaning she can like feint into zone attack very quickly from any direction. Her defense game is extremely strong. Her reversals, she has the dodge strike, which her dodge into attack is actually a heavy, giving her the ability to execute. Now I know this is for 1v1s, but I think it should be mentioned that in 4v4 she is so strong because she basically can always execute her opponent pretty safely. And then offense game, I actually don't think she has that many great vortex or resets. She can simply just keep attacking, which, you know, at a certain level, I think that's kind of weak when Peacekeepers do that, because you just tank one hit and then you parry the next hit and punish her really hard for it. I think with her, it's more of a more defensive Peacekeeper is definitely very strong. So the only place where I kind of docked damage was the vortex and resets. She just doesn't have anything that's very guaranteed. Most of the time, a lot of her pressure just comes from her ability to move so quickly and outspace the opponent. Up next, we have Orochi, who I also put as one of the top tier characters in the game. He has double up light attack whenever he lands any light attack, and his light attack is actually fairly strong. So just like the Warden, he has really good feints in neutral. He can feint right into his zone attack or go into his up strike, and off any up strike he gets 2 attacks. Now unlike Warden, he doesn't have a great vortex or reset, but he does have in neutral very great feints. I think maybe even better feints, because he can do his Storm Rush and feint, and a lot of times if I feint into a Storm Rush feint, and I can actually on reaction see if they swing, and doing so you can punish them by just letting the Storm Rush go into double up light strike, and that's just so much damage. But in general, I think mostly Orochi should be played pretty defensively, but his dodge strike is also one of the best, just like Peacekeeper. And what makes it even kind of crazier is that like doing the deflect is extremely easy with Orochi. You don't even, most of the time, if you just dodge it and you press light attack for the deflect hit and you miss the timing, it's fine because you still dodge the attack into his dodge strike. And it's unlike Peacekeeper where the dodge strike versus the deflect strike is like it's different input. So all in all, I think he's like a great character. His only weakness is his ring out ability. He's not very good at ringing out. His throw game is pretty abysmal. Like you to throw them into the wall even is extremely hard. His throw range is just so bad, but not like he really needs it. You know, a lot of characters need to be able to throw into the wall to do like a heavy, but Orochi can simply guard break into top light twice, and you don't really need to get that top heavy off of the wall throw. So that's the only con I have of him, and the fact that he doesn't really have that much of a vortex. Simply his feints are so good that off of any hit he can reset very easily by doing even more feints, because they're back into a close range neutral game. Moving on to Warlord, there's not much I can say other than he probably has the best defense game out of the whole cast, because he can parry with light attacks. Most of the time when people are trying to feint you, they're trying to bait your heavy attack that you're trying to use as a parry, and then they'll parry that and then get the advantage on you. But he can parry using light attacks, which essentially makes feint baiting not as strong when you're fighting a Warlord. And also Warlord can punish on parry with his guard break, which like if you press it right time, right when you parry, you press guard break, you get his headbutt into light attack, and that kills most of their stamina. And I think that's extremely strong. Another thing is his neutral game, he has very fast light attacks, his zone attacks extremely fast, and like I said with the other top tiers, with any fast zone attack, it means you can feint into the zone attack for a quick guaranteed damage on most players who are not really expecting it. And then the only weak thing about him would be his offense. He doesn't really have a vortex, and even with his unblockable into stab, it doesn't do that much guaranteed damage. But he does have a really good ring out as well, where he carries them with his shield. So, but that's about it. His offense is his only con, but his defense is so superb that I think he is definitely in the A tier. Moving on to Shugoki, I think he's probably the most hated character in the game right now. He has probably the best ring out in the game with Raider, where he can guard break you into his heavy like baseball bat move, and I think that's just amazing. Also, he has that the back break, which can heal you, and off most wall throws, it's very easy to get it off, especially if they're in a corner and they can't like really dodge it. Shugoki, I think his reversal, his defense game is amazing simply because he has super armor every so often. So if they're throwing out a move, you can fearlessly throw out a move. And you know, like Warlord, you can't really feint bait Shugoki either, because in neutral, when he has super armor, if the Shugoki decides to only throw light attacks off of your feints, like deciding that he's gonna tank your move with super armor, he'll just throw a light attack. You can't feint bait those into a parry, you just have to block them. And if he actually lands that hit on you, then he gets the headbutt, which kills a lot of your stamina, and then he's allowed to go into his pressure. And guaranteed damage with Shugoki is very high because off any like wall throw or anything, he has just so much damage. I mean, just in general, his guard break into his heavy attack does a ton of damage. The only thing he doesn't really have is, like the Warlord, he doesn't have great vortexes. He can probably try to like gimmick someone into landing his unblockable, especially now that there's that Shugoki bug where if you do an unblockable Shugoki and then you untarget, they can't parry it. So that makes it even stronger. I think he probably has one of the best unblockable games in the game because of that bug right now. But in general, I think his neutral game isn't that strong either. His feints and normals aren't that fast, and they don't hit that hard. But his defense game is so strong, and his punishes are just extremely powerful because of his guaranteed damage. I think he definitely belongs in A tier. Moving on to the last of the A tiers is Nobushi. I think she's one of the best characters in the game. Her neutral game is amazing. She has really good attacks and stabs. She doesn't have a very good zone attack, but you can easily do a heavy feint into back light attack and do her poison stab from any direction you want. Her parry game is very good. When you parry with her, if you can get a guard break off them, she has one of the best guard breaks in the game. You can guard break into side heavy, into the unblockable kicks, which you can sidestep, but if you get the unblockable kicks on people who don't really know it's coming, then you can get a free poison stab after, and that's just so much damage. And with her, I think the only con would be her vortex game. After doing that whole sequence, or after any poison stab, you can stab again, but most people know how to parry that stab coming after the poison stab. So the only thing you can really mix up is maybe like a feint after into other things, but it's a very vanilla vortex. It's not like any sort of amazing vortex like the Warden has, where he uses his unblockable to try to get another hit in. But all in all, I think she's an amazing character. She does so much damage off very many punishes. She's a very parry heavy character. If she can parry you, then she can basically get any attack off on you. She can either stab you, or at close range she can guard break you into, like I said, one of the highest damage guard breaks in the game. So moving on to Kensei, I think, you know, he's probably the only character where I was kind of like, I wasn't sure if I should put him in an A tier or B tier, but I wanted to keep it 3 characters per tier, so I put him into B tier. But if there's anyone who deserves to be in like a tier higher, it's probably Kensei. He does so much damage off guard break into wall throw because he gets his top unblockable, that his punish game is extremely strong, because off any regular parry he can get at least a light attack off, and at close range he gets his guard break where he can go into his mix-ups. Now the only thing weak about him I would say is his normals. His normals are a bit slow, so if you throw out like a light attack, then you know it's kind of slow aside from his dash up light attack. So if you're fighting Kensei, you just hold up block the whole time and then react to the left or right, and it's very hard for the Kensei to break that kind of defense if you keep that mentality. And he relies so heavily on punish, parry punish, that he can get baited out into bad parries all the time. And luckily his range is pretty good like the Nobushi, so if you do get parried, some characters can't really punish Kensei that easily. And I think that would be the only weak points, where his neutral attacks probably need a little bit more speed. He's easily baitable, and also his vortex and resets aren't the best. He has his, if he can get you into this final hit, he has the top unblockable into like feint into other stuff. But aside from that, which most of the time people will parry you on the second hit anyways, then he doesn't really have that great of a vortex. But all in all, I think he's a great character. His dodge slash is amazing. You can feint one way and then like dodge the other way and attack, and it makes it like really hard to actually stop that from hitting you. So okay, moving on. Okay guys, so the Valkyrie is actually a very strong character. I know that she's getting buffs, which I'm pretty excited for. I actually enjoy playing her myself. When you guard break with her, I think she has an amazing vortex, because after her first vortex is she guard breaks into heavy attack into the tackle. Now after the tackle, she can either sweep you into a free top heavy, or she can guard break you into another heavy into tackle. And at this point, she'd probably be out of stamina, but at least she gets like 2 or 3 attacks for free off of her vortex. And also, another thing that she can do with her vortex is if you don't expect it, you can guard break into heavy and then do a light attack. So if you're expecting like the tackle or something or not paying attention, you take the light attack, she gets sweep for free into top heavy. And off any sweep into top heavy, because it's a top heavy, she can go into her tackle again. So that's actually a very strong vortex that she has. I think the only thing that she really needs is more attack speed, which they are giving her. Her attack speed is very weak compared to Nobushi's, so as like a range poke character, she's actually not that fast to actually poke out certain moves that are being used against her. And I think that's the only con she has. So we'll see. I'm excited to see where she'll be at on this tier list once her patch hits. Now with the Lawbringer, a lot of people are putting him pretty low on the tier list, but even though I'm putting him here, I can say that like a lot of Lawbringers have given me trouble. I think he has an amazing vortex, much like Valkyrie. Off any guard break, he gets a heavy side heavy for free, which he can go into the unblockable. And this is where it gets tricky, because after the unblockable, he can either do his stab unblockable where he tosses you behind him for a free hit, or he can go into a guard break, and that's a 50-50 right there, because to get away from the free stab, you need to sidestep, and to get away from the guard break, you need to stand still and get ready to tech it. So he has a 50-50 off that, and a lot of times you can just guard break heavy tackle, guard break heavy tackle, and you get like 2 or 3 heavies in a row, and eventually you could throw him into the wall for top heavy, which does massive damage. But he suffers from the exact same thing that Valkyrie has, where his attack speed just isn't that high, so his feint game and neutral game isn't that strong. So a lot of his uh, really big plays comes from landing strong parries into his vortex. Alright guys, we're almost done here. So moving on to the C tiers, we have Raider, who I actually think is a very strong character. Except I put him here because above all else on this tier list, I valued guaranteed damage. Since it's a pretty defense heavy game, getting your guaranteed damage is a very important factor. Like with the Raider here on guard break, he gets his unblockable, but if you throw them into the wall, you don't even get a heavy. So in all cases, if you want good damage, you have to use up so much of your stamina that I think that that's like a very big con that he has. But all in all, like he has like the best ring out in the game, and his parry punish options aren't that strong, and his reversals aren't that strong either. So that's kind of why I put him here. I think he's a very reads heavy character, and you know, props to anyone who plays Raider, because it's definitely a very mind game heavy character. But in an environment like this where you know you can either mind game them or get guaranteed damage, then I decided to put guaranteed damage over that aspect of the game. So that's why he's here. But I do think he's a very viable character. He just needs certain buffs. Like I wish he had better parry punish options, and I wish he had better options off when he throws someone into the wall. He should at least get a top heavy or something like that. So moving on to Conqueror, I think he's kind of a weak character. I wish they gave him a little bit more. I know that he doesn't really get, on guard break, he doesn't get a side heavy, which I wish he did, because then if he at least got the guard break side heavy, he could go into his unblockable from that and 50-50 that with something else. But right now, off guard break, you really only get a light attack unless you throw them into the wall. So, but how are you going to get them to the wall if you can't, like, if you don't have great offensive pressure, like, naturally, which he doesn't. So he's kind of a situational character. I think he definitely is a pretty good counter pick against certain characters though, who relies on like getting to like the last hit of their string to pressure you, kind of like Kensei, where like Kensei can't just go crazy on the Conqueror. He really has to respect that shield. And Conqueror himself has really good defense. Obviously, his shield increase with his block speed, he can actually defend against a lot of things that might be free for other characters. So he's kind of like a defense and poke character. But like I said before, I kind of rated this tier list based on like guaranteed damage and vortexes and how well you can consistently get damage. And with him not having like a good zone attack or anything, his feints are like very weak, and he can't actually get that much damage off. So you have to like play defense for longer periods of time to get more damage out. And playing defense is not a necessarily bad thing, but it's definitely harder if you have to defend against them multiple times to get like a certain amount of damage, where if you guess wrong once and you take tons of damage, then you have to make up for that. So anyways, that's why I put him here. I hopefully in the future he gets a little bit more off his guard breaks, and like so he more easily go into his pressure and unblockables. Last but not least, we have Berserker. Now, I actually don't think Berserker is that bad of a character. I just think that he's kind of like a weaker version of PeaceKeeper, and hopefully with these new buffs that changes, because right now there's not much to kind of separate him from being just a lesser version of her, because a lot of his feints and parries, he can go into like a left or right feint and then dodge the other way and attack, kind of like Kensei can. It's very good. He can also feint one way and then zone attack, which is also very strong, but you can defend against the last hit of his zone attack, leaving him without frame advantage. Unlike PeaceKeeper, where she lands her zone attack, she gets frame advantage. So all in all, I think like he has a better guard break follow up off the wall, but he has a much weaker guard break follow up when there's no wall involved, because he can get top heavy on wall slap, but not when it's just in neutral. But in general, I think he probably I'm excited for that new patch to see where he lands and how he differentiates himself from being a lesser peacekeeper. And I've definitely played very good berserkers before and lost to them, so just because I put him here doesn't mean I think he's necessarily a bad character. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. That's all I had for today. I didn't expect the video to be so long. I guess going through every character, I should have expected that. Even if I spend a minute per character, that's 12 minutes just for the characters alone. But like I said before, I don't think the tiers matter that much in this game. If you're a better player than the other person and you make the right reads and you play patiently, you're definitely gonna end up winning more than not against a player who just doesn't really think and spams their attacks and tries to brute force their way through. So, take this tier list with a grain of salt, and, let me know what you think. Please, like, comment, subscribe if you liked the video, and I would like to hear what you think about the tier list below. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.